Going off to college is an exciting time for young students eager to break away from home and make their own decisions. Whether at a big state university like this one in Arizona, or at a small college like this one in Massachusetts, young women and men seem to find their niche. But underneath the surface, many students battle a serious disorder in secret.
Are eating disorders an issue here at this big university?
Yes, they are. And we've seen different populations have experiences with eating disorders. We have an eating disorder specialist in our campus health area who does a lot of outreach and a lot of one-on-one and a lot of working with students. But we know eating disorders disproportionately tend to impact sorority members, athletes, different populations, and so we try to watch carefully, but eating disorders are an issue here.
I think there are very, very few women in college, at Amherst or at other places, for whom weight, body image is not an issue. I think there are a minuscule number of women who it's not an issue. But it's really a continuum. And for some women, it just is something that they sort of are concerned about or focused on, and they weigh themselves and wish they were a little thinner, before spring break. I think for other women, it really becomes a central part of their lives, an obsession. And that's distracting from their studies. It's distracting from their social lives. In some cases, it's distracting from other things that they would like to accomplish in college, because so much of their time, energy, attention is being spent on planning what to eat, planning on how to get rid of what they've eaten, whether through exercise or other means.
The two most widespread eating disorders are anorexia nervosa and bulimia nervosa. 40% of newly identified cases of anorexia are in girls 15 to 19 years old. The illness, which cuts across racial and economic lines, may affect as many as 20% of students on college campuses. The National Eating Disorder Association reports that nearly half of students know someone who compulsively exercises more than 2 hours at a time, and almost as many know someone who purges by vomiting.
If you're vomiting so much, then the electrolytes can change in your body, and that can cause a problem with the heart muscle and how it beats. For bulimics, sometimes they can eat so much food that they can actually rupture their stomach or their esophagus. The actual vomiting, the purging, can cause tears in the esophagus.
The consequences for anorexia can be worse. Anorexia has the highest premature fatality rate of any mental illness. The disorder can become an addiction for many young women. One cause of eating disorders may be society's glamorization of thinness. Fashion models are typically 5 feet 11 inches and 117 pounds, thinner than 98% of American women. Magazines splash covers of weight loss stories and diet regimens on a weekly basis. There's also a culture on college campuses that can contribute to the development of eating disorders.
Ambition and perfectionism seems to be really key, in that people want to be in control of things and on top of things in their lives. If I hear the word productive one more time, it's just always, well, were you productive today? Did you get a lot done?
Anna Antoniak double majored in French and English at Amherst.
I would say that the need to be really thin is prevalent, and these comparisons between people and competition.
At top-ranked Amherst College, students know about high stress and competition.
How many of you spend about 3 hours a night studying for the next day's classes?
Amherst students play hard, too. With over 100 organizations to choose from and the demands of their coursework, campus life is a juggling act.
It is true that one of the costs of this quality of institution that students compete so vigorously to get into is that they bring the socialization of that competition with them, and it's hard to put that aside once you walk through the doors. It's hard to say, okay, now I've succeeded, I can just enjoy this and make the most of it and not be obsessed, because they've been socialized in that way.
Because everyone eats together, it's easy to see how much food others are eating. Students call this tray gazing.
If someone's eating really healthy, well then it makes everyone else feel guilty about eating whatever they're eating, be it ice cream at dinner or something else, and people become more self-conscious about what they eat.
Katie Massapust-Lee swam competitively for Amherst.
If one girl does start eating just salads, you know, other girls will reevaluate what they are going to eat for
Reevaluate
dinner.
meaning, am I eating too much?
Yeah. Start to question whether you really need to eat so much, and so then sometimes people will start to sort of mimic other people's eating habits.
Mimic the bad behavior.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like it's contagious.
It is, I feel.
Everyone's very aware of everyone else's eating habits, and so they also then become more self-conscious about their own habits.
There is a very unhealthy attitude towards eating and food on campus that affects health and happiness and just general well-being.
This college senior, a double major in chemistry and European studies, asked us not to identify her or her college.
First of all, I would eat by myself because I didn't want to have to deal with why aren't you eating so much. Whenever I went to dining hall, I would get salads and water to drink, which is not much food at all. But in my mind, that was a lot of food. So it's all in your mind.
She spoke publicly for the first time about her eating disorder, which she says began 2 years earlier in her sophomore year.
I was depressed, but I don't think I admitted that to myself. Because to me, that was also a sign of failure. Not being able to control my life and not being able to understand myself or not being able to be healthy was a sign of failure. So it kind of went down this very bad spiral of being depressed and obsessing over food and losing a lot of weight. And I did that by being slightly anorexic and definitely bulimic.
With the onset of family problems, she lost 20 pounds in 2.5 months. She was consumed with trying to control her depression by trying to control her food intake.
And it's not so much that the binging and the purging feels good because it feels terrible, believe you me, but it's the act, it's the feeling that afterwards, it's as if you've gotten rid of all the things bad in the world or in your world or in your life because of this physical act of purging.
All right. Here we go.
Diane Norman, the nurse practitioner at Amherst,
Nice big deep
leads the
breaths.
eating disorder assessment and treatment team.
It's so sad to me. Sometimes I sit across from these students and I say, you know, think about how much time and effort and energy you give away, how much power you give away to food and eating. You know, is that what you really came to Amherst College for? Is that what you're on the planet for?
But Norman recognizes that the causes of eating disorders go deep.
An eating disorder is very little to do with food, even though from the outside, that's all it appears. You know, my belief is that people use food and body issues as sort of the arena in which they're working out underlying pain and emptiness, you know, or anxiety. Sometimes, you know, they'll say to me, I've been in classes all day, I've been in lab all afternoon, and all I face all night is more homework and more work. And that's sad to them, depressing and overwhelming.
In an average year, about 15 students come to the clinic to ask for help. Some have to be hospitalized or drop out of college.
15 students a year is not a very large percentage.
Those are just the ones who access care. What did they say? 1 out of 4. 1 out of 4 women on any given campus. And that may even be an underestimation of women who potentially have either disordered eating or some, you know, variant of disordered eating.
I was depressed and I had an eating disorder. And if you're thinking about food, then you don't have to think about the fact that you're depressed. Either eating or not eating or purging, that it becomes kind of your obsession and something to divert your attention from the real problems. You feel as though you're in control of this certain act. But it's really not. You don't have control over it. You're actually controlled by it.
Eating disorders in general are associated with, you know, certain kinds of personality characteristics of, I'm going to say women. It could be men. It's by and large women, though. I think women who are competitive, women who are perfectionistic, women who are hard on themselves, women who want to be good at everything, academic, athletic, physical, social, etc. And that those kinds of traits are associated with disordered eating.
Professor Sanderson is a member of the Eating Disorder Task Force at Amherst College. She studied the predictors of and strategies for preventing eating disorders at Amherst and Princeton.
Women are misperceiving how much other women are weighing and actually seeing women as thinner than they actually are. And in fact, the bigger the gap is between your own weight and your perception of other women's weight, the more you show signs of disordered eating. Binging, purging, vomiting, excessive exercise, calorie counting, weighing yourself, things like that. So being wrong has real consequences in terms of what women are doing in terms of disordered eating.
We, spend a lot of time in our bathing suits on the pool deck. We're in our bikinis all day. You notice what people look like, and I think in the past there's been a tendency for the girls on the team to compare, and in some cases it's resulted in girls having to stop swimming for a time in order to gain weight to become healthy enough to swim.
Coaches can make a difference simply by telling their athletes they cannot play until they gain weight. Students on a small campus may have an advantage, since an eating disorder is more likely to be noticed.
We're small enough to try to see where the problems might be. We have resident counselors, we have a counseling service, we have lots of deans, we have professionals who are very good at this, who work with us.
But even if help is available, college officials cannot force a student to take advantage of it.
It could be very shaming to someone to do that, and there's already so much shame inherent in disordered eating that would be counterproductive in my perspective. It's painful for me to see someone who's working out, over exercising, or is at potential risk for something. It's very challenging to see, and know that those people exist on campus and feel like, the best I can do is try to get people who know that person to do an intervention to get them in to see me.
This is just a bunch of food that people sort of usually are stay away from or eat less of or feel guilty about eating. So the point, it's called Eat and Be Merry, so that people sort of relax about what they're eating and know that there's a lot of nutritional value in all of these things. And
Sometimes students take matters into their own hands. Anna Antoniak, who struggled with her own weight issues during her time at Amherst, started a group called Beyond Bodies to promote positive body image and help other students develop a healthy relationship with food.
We want people to relax about food, about their body image, just not think about it when they're outside of the dining hall. So we want people to enjoy food and not put so much stress around that issue, and to know health benefits, health risks of all sorts of options.
Studying abroad during her junior year proved to be an important step in this student's road to recovery.
So I needed to leave the place, the actual physical place, where I associate being unhappy or depressed or having an eating disorder, and take myself out of that situation and kind of evaluate with a clear mind what was and what wasn't the cause of my problems.
She's since graduated and recently earned her master's degree at another institution.
I believe that it's important for women, for instance, who come in for treatment. I will often say to them, your bulimic self has developed over years for a certain reason. She helps you on some level, helps you cope with either anxiety, emptiness, sadness, depression, hurt, pains, great happinesses, whatever big feelings you have. It's important to start to identify what are those about, because once you can start to uncover and discover what those places are, then and only then can you start to substitute other behaviors.
Battling an eating disorder can be a lifelong process, but it doesn't have to be done alone. Getting help is the first step, and every college campus has resources available.